Several agencies responded to a large fire with explosions, as you see there.
So today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be talking about camera safety. I made a video on this a couple weeks ago. It didn't like the way it turned out. So the main thing you need to really understand, I'm going to have to do this, is that when it comes to camera safety, there's a lot of things you can do. Obviously, just understanding your equipment, making sure you're using it in a good way. Having proper camera support, make sure you're not blowing your back out or your knees out. You don't just have to sit there and suffer with the camera in front of you all day. You can get harnesses, you can get monopods, you can get, like a Steadicam, you can get ergo rigs, vests. There's a million and one things out there for you to keep yourself comfortable while you're shooting. There's no reason for you to not be comfortable while you're shooting. If you're comfortable while you're shooting, then you'll be able to get good shots. So there you go. And the main reason I'm going to be bringing this topic up today is because of what happened yesterday with the Fox affiliate station camera guy. Now, we've been seeing journalists literally being blown up by bombs in the Middle East for the past couple of months. I mean, they've really been murdered on an unprecedented scale. And I didn't think this would bother me because I've seen it in person. I've seen it before, especially here in Portland. There's been a lot of press being mishandled. They were rarely arrested. That wasn't very often. And when they did, they just had to drop everything, toss them out anyway. So it wasn't a huge thing. But it's just been a while since I've seen a camera guy just utterly assaulted. And I want to talk about that. So specifically in this instance, there are two videos. The first one shows an earlier situation in which he's just kind of going up to film an arrest, and then they do the classic. In fact, I have a clip of somebody doing this to me, which I'll play right now. Hand in lens. So when that happens, you're taking, when you use a shoulder camera, right, your eyepiece is right here. It's your eye. And so he's going up to film an arrest here earlier in the day, and this cop comes from out of frame, so he can't see what's happening, and he maliciously hides his hand because he knows he can't see below that lens right now because he's looking through his eyepiece, and then goes up, grabs the lens, and shoves it into his face, which means he's taking this camera guy's eyepiece and just shoving it into his fucking face, right? That is literally what he's doing. He's literally, at that point, that can cause an eye injury if you're not wearing glasses. That's assault right there. So that's already a problem. And he wasn't in a thing there. This was at a separate incident. And then later on, we all saw the video. He's following the cops, and everybody else pushing around. And then he gets kind of tripped over, and then he gets thrown to the ground and roughed up and everything. And ridiculous, gets cuffed, gets arrested, spends 24 hours in jail, which I'm sure the dumbass cops who arrested him think that, that'll teach him a lesson. What lesson? He's doing his job. He's doing his job. He has no choice. He has to go there and do that as part of his job. Right? This isn't this guy's ideal of a nice Sunday. It's not my ideal of a nice Sunday either. I have to go out and shoot something. I have to go out and shoot something. It's work. That's what it is. I like filming, but I just don't understand why they would do that to somebody who, mind you, they're going to have to continue to interact with because he's probably going to continue in this line of work. So if this is a career camera guy, this is something that they're going to have to deal with and be embarrassed by for the next 20 years of their lives, these cops. Every time they interact with the press, there's always going to be a subject of, we don't believe you after this. So you don't really want to do it in general because it's illegal, but also it's just really a pain in the ass to deal with, especially here in Portland. So many press people have been assaulted by cops. It's kind of common around here, unfortunately. But Yeah, it's a really weird, tenuous relationship because of everything that happened in the latest protest movements. But I mean, I've seen this all the way since Occupy. It just wasn't as popular back then. Social media wasn't as big. But despite this conflagration, and this guy being falsely imprisoned, I'm sure he's going to have a very nice settlement. But I'm sure he's in a lot of pain for sure. He's definitely going to be in pain for a little while. That's a 20-pound camera, and that getting jostled around your shoulder against your will it hurts. It hurts. Those cameras are hard to deal with. I always prefer the mini JVCs that one on the shoulder. I like shoulder cameras when they're lightweight, but when they're rigged up like that, they're just really untenable. So, what can we do? What can we learn from this situation? Well, there's a few things we can learn. As someone who's been filming protests and other dangerous events for well over a decade, I've been in video for a lot longer than that, but I have about a decade all in all of just doing like hardcore filming dangerous situations develop, or going in sketchy areas and getting good content. I'm a big burly guy. I got cameras. I don't care if a camera gets stolen. It's happened to me before. I have backups. It's whatever, you take a bit of risk when you're out there. It's fine, I've been assaulted. It happens, but you need to keep yourself safe. As a big guy, those assaults and stuff were very small, very minor. And they went to do it, maybe made contact and then stopped. I'm a big guy, they're not going to be coming after me, So typically in this situation, when it comes to filming protests, I always want to give you some tips on how to stay safe. I got to take a drink of water. Really important thing when it comes to when you're filming protests is you genuinely want to stay away from that police line. You don't really want to be right there. That's not a good, safe place to be. It's also not good to be behind the cops, walking right up behind them. That's also not a safe place to be. For that exact reason, somebody, a cop could just walk up alongside you and just throw you down. They don't like what you're filming, even if you didn't touch them. I think you just do that, And there's going to be a lawsuit and issues, and it's going to be a little paperwork. It's going to bother them. It's going to bother you. It's going to bother everybody, but they still do it. So you kind of just genuinely want to just stay away from the police in any protest situation. Just stay away from them. You don't really want to get near them. You kind of want to, if you're going to be behind the police, you need to stay like 6 feet back or more. If you want to film the line, you want to go up to the sides, get a little bit of separation. You want to back up past that crowd and then shoot from behind that crowd, zoom in to where it's happening, or like I said, go off to the side, stand, don't move. If you're in those situations, if you're not moving, people will almost certainly go around you. In those situations, I've noticed crowds tend to just continue doing what they're doing. If you just stop and go up against a wall and just blend, they'll just go around you. They won't bother you. It's, the walking right alongside the police line. It's standing right in between the protesters and the police. That's a real dangerous place that you want to avoid. You want to be there for as short a time as possible. If there's an arrest happening, you want to back up and zoom in. You want to walk around and zoom in. That's really what you want to do. They like to do that stupid fucking trick of taking the flashlight and shining it in your eyeballs, blinding you. Because, screw you. How dare you, Yeah, we know you're doing your job, but get screwed, Just so fucking, I hate these people that do this shit. Like children. And, but when they do that, right, they think that, because you what's happening. That's not how that works. You just lower your aperture and then it's fine. you just move a little bit and then it's not flaring the lens anymore. It's really not a huge problem like they think it might be. So that's kind of what you want to do is you want to, back up, zoom in. You want to go in, grab shots, back up, zoom in. When stuff is really going down, you just don't really want to be treading water alongside the authorities. Typically, the protesters are fine, but you don't really want to be stuck in a really cramped crowd. That's also something like you don't want to be on the outskirts. You always want to be in the outskirts observing. You don't want to be in there. Because when you get in the bear's cage, you can get trampled if you're in the protest side. With the cops, see what happens. If you move the wrong way, they'll knock you over. I think this thing of like arresting them and holding them for 24 hours, that's pretty rare. That is actually really not very, that doesn't usually happen. So, especially someone who's like a very apparent TV camera guy with a gigantic camera, like that is pretty rare that happens. It does, but it's rare that it happens. And then they even tried to charge this guy too. It was ridiculous. It's just annoying when that happens, because it's like, you're not going to get away with what you're doing. And they didn't. But anyway, I digress. So yeah, you want to stay on the outskirts. You want to keep your head on a swivel, and keeping situational awareness is really important. I think that's one of the mistakes I see, not just with him, but multiple people at this protest. They're not keeping situational awareness. They're focusing too much on what they're filming. They're not looking around. They're not keeping this eye open. I didn't mean to flip you off, sorry. They're not keeping this eye open, and that's important to do. It's very important that you keep this eye open. It's kind of like I sound like Nick Fury in that one movie. But that's what you do, right? You got to keep one eye open and one eye in the viewfinder, so that way you see what's happening around you. It can mess with your perception for a little while, but once you start doing it a lot, you kind of get used to it. So typically, if I'm shooting, and I like shooting with a viewfinder, it weirds people out sometimes that I have my other eye open. They're like, what? How can he see? But it's important when you're in a situation like that, so that way you can keep situational awareness. So, you want to get in, get close, get your shots, and you want to back up, back out, move around, and, just generally you want to not be in the bear's cage for too long. Another thing I noticed too in a couple of these videos is they mess with this guy a few times throughout the day. They mess with all the camera guys a few times throughout the day. I noticed not just him. I've seen videos of them too, like just like pushing his lens earlier, but like with other camera people too. They're like cutting him off, knocking him around. They're messing with everybody. Now, when that happens, because my general rule, kind of just stay away from the police in a situation like that. It's not, get up on a bench, get up on a bush, get up on a wall, go in a parking garage up to the second level and film out the side of that, things like that. Those are the things you could do where you could stay close but stay up and out of it. And that's always really good. I like to get in, get the shots, and then get out of there as quick as I can, get back as far back as I possibly can, and then just kind of survey the area. And if I know there's like a group that's agitating, regardless of what group it is, sometimes it is the protesters that don't want to be filmed, and sometimes it's the police. It's just you kind of make a mental note of these people, and then you just stay away from them no matter what, even if that's where the action is happening. Oh well, so that's kind of a good thing to do. Another interesting thing you can do, it's not as good action, it's not, is just set up on a tripod. This looks like a garden that goes away. And you could set up at one end and zoom in, and then just kind of slowly move your tripod back as they kind of move. And that's just what you get that day if you want to be cautious about it, right? You are taking a risk by getting in there, which is why, you limit your time in the bear's cage, stay away from police or people that are being agitated by your presence, and, back over to the sides, back out to the back, kind of just stay out of that area and zoom in and get your shots, and try not to move too much. When everybody's moving, don't move, because that's how you can stay pretty safe. So those are some good tips for filming protests. Sometimes, like that poor Australian during the 2020 protests, they're just going to kick your ass, and there's nothing you can do about it. So it's just part of doing our job. People don't like us. People don't appreciate us. It's just how it is. We're a very unwanted presence 90% of the time, and a lot of places we work at don't even want to pay us, So it's just part of being a camera guy. Everybody wants to replace you. Nobody wants you there. Welcome to the life of being a camera operator. But, it can be a very fruitful career if you play your cards right and you work with the right people. It can be wonderful. But I would definitely use those tricks for filming a protest. When it comes to other situations too, you just in general want to keep situational awareness around. Another good thing is to make sure you have first aid training, make sure you have some crisis training, make sure that you are able to stay in control, because if you're not, unable to stay in control, that usually leads to more PTSD from intense situations. And there are lots of professional classes and courses that you can take emergency training, all kinds of tactical training to make sure that you're not kidnapped or worse. And, that always helps. So I would recommend, if you are wanting to go into more news and more dangerous type of filming, you need to have first aid training. You need to have tactical training. You need to know how to make sure you don't get kidnapped or killed. And, I wish a speedy recovery and a very nice settlement for this camera guy, because he didn't deserve what happened to him. And I also hope that, I'm sure those cops they're going to have to deal with guff. They're probably not going to have to deal with too much. They'll probably still keep their badges and everything, because, we can't hold cops accountable. But I do think that they'll probably, have a very annoying couple of weeks for sure. And then, I guess to kind of move on from that part of it, a really important thing to note when it comes to camera safety is just being prepared. Being prepared can really help as well. So that way, the geography of a situation. So that way you can, like places to go to get shots. You kind of know that neighborhood. You kind of know where you can get a good view on the situation. That saved my butt a few times during Occupy, and also a few times during wildfire coverage, where I knew of an observation point that was not going to be very crowded. I could just go there and kind of observe the situation before I went in. And really, lastly, what also comes down to is, your safety is really important. And I do think that this was another mistake that the guy made. I'm sure he had a hell of a day, and we all make mistakes. But something that, like I said, your safety is more important than getting the shot. So if you're going through a whole day, you're going through this situation, people are agitating you, you can just go down the road a little ways and just set up a tripod shot. You don't have to be in there. When you go to a wildfire, if the situation's not looking good, the roads are looking sketch, maybe you just drive over to a mountain on the other side of the canyon and set up a tripod shot. Maybe that's what you do that day. Maybe it's not worth going down that road. Maybe it's not worth getting trapped on I-82 that day. Maybe you don't want to do that. So, and in really intense situations, like I said, I've had my camera stolen, but that's because I let it be stolen. I'm a big guy, and I had a relatively young, small African-American female teenager try to, steal my camera. I'm not letting go of that camera. Camera's attached to me. I have my shoulder harness on. And so I'm sitting there, and it's like, you know what? There's a million other people here filming this. My safety's more important than this shot. It would have been a great shot, though. So what did I do? I pushed the latch, let her run off with the camera. There you go. Hope you're happy. Right? They arrested that girl for something else later in the day. So it didn't matter. Didn't matter. She didn't get away with whatever she did. She still had a really shitty day, and she still had to deal with consequences for her actions. Sucked, right? But, I was safe. I ended the confrontation. I kept my health and my safety paramount. And that's important. Our jobs are very important. We must inform, and if we do not inform correctly, people can get hurt. People can die even if we don't give them proper evacuation orders. But at the same time, you need to, when situations get tough, you need to be able to stay calm, as I did in that situation, and breathe, and make the best decision, not just for the best shot, the best decision for your safety, for everyone's safety. Everyone's safety, all right? This girl that's trying to rob my camera off of me, right? I didn't even see where she came from. She literally jumped on top of me from behind me. I never even saw her face, ever. I didn't even see who she was. I just know that this is a small girl. And I know that I don't want her to be injured in this situation. I don't want anybody to be injured. And I know that if I let that camera go, I don't just save myself. I save her from physical endangerment. I save everybody from physical endangerment just by doing that one thing. Did it suck? Yeah. Did I have a backup camera? Yeah. So it wasn't a big deal. But at the same time, you got to make sure when you're in the field that you are prioritizing your safety. If it's 5 a.m., you're a woman, you're all alone, and they want you to go out and do a live shot in the dark in a certain part of town, and it doesn't feel right, don't go. Don't go. Go somewhere else, right? I understand you have to do a live shot. You have to. It's not a choice. But you can just go somewhere else and do it. Somewhere safer. And maybe the shot's boring, but you're safe. And that's what matters. So situational awareness, make sure you take proper training courses, make sure you know first aid, breathe, stay calm in those rough situations. Don't get agitated. Don't start pushing around. When everyone else is getting pushed, just stay in place and you'll stay safe. Hopefully this ramble helped somebody learn something out there. And I hope you enjoyed my little clip, my little montage clip that I put in at the beginning of this video of people losing their minds around me. Grenades going off, all kinds of crazy stuff. But yeah, I'm happy to say that only one time I've had one confrontation that ended with, something physical happening, and I just let the camera go and the situation was over. Nobody got hurt. And I am proud of that moment. I didn't just make sure I was safe. I made sure the person who was attacking me was safe too. Because it's not about being right. It's about surviving. So make sure that you are able to stay around, stay uninjured and healthy, because that's really hard to do these days. Stay healthy, stay safe, keep shooting. Catch you around.